It's not a bird, it's not a plane, it's Superhero Slate. It's a modern podcast where we talk about everything that's great, like movies, TV, superheroes. It's Superhero Slate. Oh yeah.
Hello everyone and welcome to Superhero Slate, the show where we run down the latest superhero entertainment news.
We love TV, movies, and sometimes superheroes, so let's talk it all out.
Ooh, all the time superheroes. My name is Chris Dillard.
And my name's Mike Royer.
And this week, what if we're getting multiverse ready?
Yeah, did you read that as if what if was italicized? Because that's how I heard it, Chris. ...
Mike. That is in the title. We'll talk more about that right at the top of the show. TMNT Mutant Mayhem reveals its voice cast. Surprise, surprise. Big list here.
Heck yes.
And we'll talk about that. The Mando returns on Disney Plus, and all week I've been doing that theme song. Like I've been whistling it. Like
so
once
good.
you hear it, you're like, oh yeah, there it is. But we'll talk about more about the Mutant. There's actually some news with the music on that later. Not anything that affects anything, but it's interesting. And more. Mike, it's one of those weeks.
The music of Star Wars. I'm not going to say it's like underrated by any means, but I would say it's almost more unexpected, right? Because you always think of everything but the music first when it comes to Star Wars, but then when you're in it, you're like, oh yeah, it sounds so good. I love it.
I would say, but if you hear the music, you know immediately it's Star Wars. I guess that's the other part. Like John Williams, he didn't have to go so hard for us on all those movies. Yeah, he did. Even on the ones we hate, Mike, he still brought the bangers. And
I even love this new era of Star Wars music that is definitely John Williams influence, but I believe they do have some new creators working on the sound kind of on this new stuff, and it all sounds like great. It all sounds like it's in the same world. So what a nice warm hug when you hear those sounds. Yeah, exactly.
I was gonna say it's not just music; it's the sounds too. Because in my head, I always hear like the TIE fighters that screech through space, right? Like they always have a blaster sound, a TIE fighter sound, going to warp speed or hyper speed. It's always there. It's great.
They definitely put the sound effect in Star Wars when those big laser beams that are like those big long channels, and they're usually like a dude behind him moving. It's like kind of one of those things. They lifted that and put it right in the last Ant-Man movie. I'm sure it was to pay homage, not like just cribbing or stealing. But when Michelle Pfeiffer kind of stops that conga line of people or whatever, the people in like the quantum desert or whatever, they had definitely had one of those. So yeah, you can't escape the sounds. They're everywhere.
Yeah, no, not at all. And I would even say, like, to the point, while I wouldn't say Book of Boba Fett's the best thing, I always get that song stuck in my head, like that, the chanting, right? And then you find out that they're literally just saying Boba Fett over and over again at the end of the show, which was it was pretty funny to find those lyrics. But we got Star Wars. Do we have Star Wars? We don't have any Star Wars. Oh, the end of the show. We're gonna talk Mandalorian end of the show, folks. So if you haven't seen it, it's fine. We will talk. I guess spoiler free, but third season of this show, we're probably going to jump right into spoilers at the end of the show.
Yeah,
but we'll give you a heads up.
Yeah, you do make a good point. So go watch Mando. It's great.
That's right. So Mike, I toyed with this for way too long last night, but you bought a new little toy. And I have editing skills that could use this toy in fun, unexpected ways.
Did you do something? Chris, did you attempt to do something?
I did. I tried to take... Mike bought a pop-up green screen, not to steal his thunder. And I have a video of him opening this thing up. And I'm like, I have so many things I could put behind this green screen. But I was on my phone and not on my computer. So we don't have a lot to share this week. And I will say, on my end... I don't want any sympathy, but one of our cats had surgery, so we've literally been tending to a healing cat all week, and it may not sound much, but it is. We have been trying to stay with her and make sure she's good, and she's fine. She's back to herself almost. But I didn't get to do anything fun. Mike, you got this. You got to go thrifting and tell us more about this.
What a fun find! We had a couple. We had a couple pieces that we wanted to take into our local Goodwill, and of course we're over there. Let's stop in, My wife is much more of the thrifter than I am, so she's looking at the old records, looking through clothes and books and stuff like that. And I always walk over to like the clunky furniture like and appliances area just because it's like a blast to the past to kind of see all of these. They're usually always like very old stereos, right? Like the big speakers that are just made with like thin particle board that and then the tiniest, narrowest diameter wire I've ever seen in my life comes out of the back of them and then goes into some sort of gigantic like luminescent console. It's hilarious to imagine what it was like in the early 2000s before like, people just had like iPods, right?
Oh yeah. And you can like imagine like, that in a home and that home all had wood paneling to match those speakers as well. So absolutely.
Yeah. And then out of the corner of my eye, I see this really long, like metal black case. I'm like, what is this over here just resting on top of a couple chairs? I popped the little hood open and I just see a spool of green thread on the inside. I was like, what? So I immediately set it on the ground and I pull the pop-up green screen up and it's perfect. Like nothing's wrong with it. Like I was expecting like the mechanics behind it to be totally busted and that's why they just gave it up, or maybe like a huge stain across the back of the screen, but no, it was immaculate in one piece. The tag said $30 and I looked it up on Amazon, brand new. It's like $150. Oh, yeah. And I was still like a little peeved though because I was looking at this. I was like, back in my day when I was a kid, you would never find anything at a Goodwill that was $30. Like the max would be like $10. So I was still like a little peeved that I'm paying these inflated Goodwill prices. But I was like, nah, $30. I don't even have any immediate plans for this bad boy. But I brought it home.
You were at a nice Goodwill. I'll tell you that right now. Compared to the Goodwills I'm around, you were living large.
Well, yeah, this is one of the advantages of going to a Goodwill in a metropolitan Los Angeles area, right? Everybody's failing and trying to become a content creator every other day, so their stuff eventually filters into a used thrift store. So I'm glad I was there when I was. So now I just have this pop-up green screen, so I'm trying to think of like fun things to do with it. Maybe one day if we are ambitious enough to turn this into a video podcast, I can pull it up behind me and I could virtually be anywhere I want in the MCU. So if you follow me on Instagram, you got to see my Instagram stories of me acting a fool in front of this green screen for a bit. It sounds like Chris maybe attempted to put me into another dimension.
I could do it on a phone, and I was like, ooh, there's like so many things I could put behind here. Like, I think at one point I had Homer sliding into his like hedge at one point, kind of behind it. Like, it was fun. There was some good stuff in there, and green screens are fun. Like, don't let people. We have come so far in technology in the past 10 years alone.
Chris, this is a great segue for something that I didn't even put on the top of the show.
Oh
here.
My god, I knew it. I'm telepathetic.
The two TikTok filters right now that are popping off like crazy because they're using some advanced like AI image recognition software that like TikTok's being very cloak and dagger about. It's the teenage filter and the bold glamour filter, and they're they're wild, man. So like these filters go on your face and like you can't get them to like jitter around and jump around. They're following you just so effortlessly. You can put your hand right on your face. There's like no demorphing of the filter. It's like really bananas, honestly. And the bold glamour one, that's fun to put on, but not really great if you have like body dysmorphia, right? Because it makes you look like a Kardashian, or it gave me this like crazy weird like cartoon jawline almost, where I was like, oh my god, there's no way a human face ever looks like this. But it just feels so effortless. But I think that one's a little less interesting. The teenage filter is wild, because if it works just right, it literally makes you look like a teenager again. So there's a lot of crazy videos out there where you see like these older people like that are significantly wrinkled. I'm not saying there's anything wrong with getting wrinkled, right? But they're very wrinkled. Their age and their past have just worn them down. They put this teenage filter on and they're just like amazed. It's like they're looking at an old friend that they hadn't seen in like 40 years, and it's like some of them get like pretty emotional, right? So go give the teenage filter a try. It's like a trip. It's weird.
And is this on TikTok only?
Yeah, this is on TikTok.
Okay.
It smooths all your wrinkles. It's like slightly rounding your face too, to kind of make you a little bit more like fresh out the womb, if you will. It brightens up your features a little bit more too. But these filters are getting crazy. Like you could use these almost in real time, right? You know, if somehow you could get somebody to chat with you like through one of these filters, they might just think that's what you look like. So watch out. If you are single, your odds of getting catfished have astronomically skyrocketed just in the last week.
Yeah, well, we don't use TikTok in the house, so I didn't know about these filters, Mike. So thank you for keeping
they're crazy. Yeah, they're
up to date with the kids.
Well, like if you look past like the quirkiness of the filters, right, and like the TikTok ecosystem, it's more of just like from a technology point of view, is like, oh, these filters aren't just tracking your face anymore and like slapping kind of like, you know, a virtual sticker on it that looks realistic, which is how they've all looked in the past. Like now they're using like machine learning and artificial intelligence to like make them crazy. So just be on the lookout. Nothing is real anymore.
Back what I was going to say before Mike jumped into these teenage filters that everyone is trying right now is that, you know, I remember, you know, we used to have a very, very powerful computer and very, very specialized plugins to do green screen, right? And now you can literally do it on your phone. Like, it's doing it live on all your apps. So I'm like, oh, well, that's pretty fun. That's pretty
It's like
cool.
built into Discord, isn't it?
Yeah.
Or no, OBS.
Yeah,
that's what I'm thinking.
Well, OBS, Teams, you know, Skype, everything has those now. So like they natively put those in there. So very, very fun, very cool stuff. So yeah, check that out. But let's jump into the news, Mike. Let's get into this because this is interesting to me, and you're gonna have to Google this because I had a link and the link broke because it was taken down. Ironically for copyright. But the What If series on Marvel, right? The multiverse. Season 2 will supposedly introduce a new character called Kahori, or maybe it's just Corey. I don't know how to pronounce this because it was revealed through a Funko soda line of things.
Was that before they put the soda in a dump, or after?
No, they didn't put any sodas there, just the regular Funkos. But like the interesting part with this is, you know, this is for sale. You can buy this little Funko soda, but they have like taken like made people take this down for like copyright stuff. So I'm gonna actually I found an Instagram link. I'm gonna link it in here, Mike. If you can't find it. So literally, it is a Native American character, right? I would say it can like a Pocahontas, and this character has never been in the MCU or comic books to date. So they're creating new characters for the What If show now, which is great because we've always wondered, like, it's not just, hey, what if, what if, was it Killmonger, became Iron Man's body? Like, all those ones were kind of silly, right? Like, they didn't really do a whole lot. They just used what we knew and changed them a little bit. Like, this might be even lead into what people are rumoring, a Marvel 1602 universe that we see in What If. Like, the comic books, like, the year is 1602. What if all the Marvel characters existed then instead of, the 2000s?
Yeah, that could be it. This is very interesting, right? I don't think we've yet kind of broached this topic of, the MCU kind of being big enough on its own to just make characters out of thin air. They've all kind of been supported by the comic books at some point in time. Yep. So, I think this is interesting. The character design looks pretty cool, I would say, with the bold, like, kind of blue and white colors. Yeah, I'm down for this.
Yeah, absolutely. And another rumor that had kind of popped up was that this might be related to possibly Echo a little bit, knowing that she's got kind of Native American history in the comic books and TV shows, or maybe even the colors for this are Valkyrie, right? Maybe is this an Earth Valkyrie, like a Midgard Valkyrie? So I don't know. We'll get more as we go here. The other part of the What If news this week is that the third season of What If, that we know they might get 3 or 4, at least the third will wrap up the show. And this because the multiverse saga will conclude with the Kang Dynasty and Secret Wars, which is about when the third season of this would drop, Mike. So no need to dive into a multiverse whenever you wrap up your multiverse saga, right? So no need to carry on the show beyond that.
Yeah, I wonder if maybe they'll kind of reconfigure the kind of animation production teams to maybe take on other animated projects that are outside of a what if realm. Or maybe, I mean, three seasons for anything nowadays, right, is like an accomplishment. So we can't necessarily go along the path of just like, oh, wow, it only made 3 seasons, you know. I would just think that maybe they're just, okay, like you said, they did their what if fun. Let's move along. But just to clear up earlier, I wasn't saying they should just throw this character into the garbage.
Oh, yeah, earlier,
the Funko. I was referencing some news Chris sent me last week of Funko dumping a lot of its inventory into the landfills.
they had the company Funko had I guess a company overhaul. They're sitting on too many products in the warehouses, and they're just going to trash it right off as a loss. So that doesn't say anything about Funko as a whole. I think they're still kicking. They're still putting stuff out there, but I believe it had to do with all the stuff like during the quarantine and pandemic. They just set in containers, so by the time they hit, it was too late, and like they missed the window of things releasing. Yeah. So the value tanked.
Yeah, it is kind of funny because we're hearing about all of these companies doing layoffs because they have all of these extra employees that they just thought the pandemic was going to be around literally forever, and they could justify keeping all of this fluff, right? Not to, degrade somebody's job and call it fluff. But I guess if you think about it with physical merchandise, Funko is like, people are going to be buying Funkos out the butt forever. Make them. Yeah. And it's like, oh, nope, not anymore. People went back out into the real world.
Well, I again, as someone who's selling Funkos, I disagree that people aren't buying them, but they're just not buying.
Not buying them at the same scale.
Yeah, they're also not, like, they buy when things are hot, right? Like when the Mandalorian Season 3 drops and they make Mandalorian Season 3 Funkos, they all sell really fast. In 6 months, when there's no Mandalorian on TV, no one's buying those Season 3 pops, right? Like, you jump on the hype. So if something came over from season a year too late, right? Like, no one's out buying Eternals Funkos right now, Mike. Because nobody, a lot of people, there were too many, didn't buy them, but like, 2 years later, no one's buying. Like, a year and a half, like, nah, I don't need those.
The Eternals Funko is the type of Funko that you see at the 99-cent store, right? It's just like, ooh.
Yeah. So they're out there, but yeah. Anyway, thank you for clarifying, Mike. Not that the character belongs in the trash, but Funko's doing a lot of stuff in the trash. What if season 2 might be this year, might be next year? We'll keep you guys posted on when that comes out. Moving on, this is a double topic here. We're gonna talk Hulk / Namor. As everyone who's listened to the show for a couple months even knows, Universal owns the distribution rights to the Hulk movies and anything with Namor solo films, right? Mm-hmm. So this was a deal made with Marvel back in the day before they were big, before they had money. They own the character rights. Universal owns the character rights to Namor and Hulk, but only for solo movies, distribution rights. So if the original Incredible Hulk, the movie that, if you want to go back and watch it to get ready for the upcoming Thunderbolts and Captain America movie, you can't find it on Disney Plus or Hulu. I believe it's only on Peacock right now because that's what Universal owns Comcast, right? And that's all together. Mm-hmm. So you can't even watch all the MCU. They're not even in box sets because Universal owns the distribution rights. Well, Disney is apparently looking to possibly sell their 2/3 stake in Hulu to somebody. Which is wild for me to think of, right? Like, I figured they would just buy it all out and own it forever. But if they sell it, they could look at acquiring the Hulk and Namor rights back from Universal Comcast. Because Universal and Comcast, I believe, own the other third of Hulu along the way. So
maybe it'll be like a little bit of a handshake deal. Like, we'll sell our controlling stake in Hulu, but you're going to have to toss us a little bit our way.
Yeah, we'll cut you a deal, but we want these 2 movies. That's why you never see a Namor movie. I believe that's why Namor is not the primary character on a lot of the advertising for Black Panther Wakanda Forever. I believe that was part of the deal. Right now, Comcast could put any of the... If Marvel made another Hulk solo movie tomorrow, or a Namor movie, tomorrow... Literally, Universal would be like, yeah, we can distribute these. We can do anything we want with them. You have no say, Disney, no matter how big you are. So it's really funny.
It does make me wonder, since obviously, as we always say, we'll never know the final details of these legal documents, right? But I wonder, right, if Marvel is fleshing out all of these ancillary Hulk characters, like a Hulkling, a She-Hulk, a Red Hulk, possibly the Hulk we mentioned last week, right? I wonder if they could make a movie out of these other Hulks. Probably not, but I guess the streaming shows are always still on the table.
Yeah, absolutely. I think there is the idea here that I think Universal only licensed the Hulk at the time, right? Because they didn't do the Spider-Man route where Sony owns all the Spider-Man characters, Spider-Man and all his sub-characters. I think they only did the Hulk. That's why we have She-Hulk and all these other ones. So it could be either way. Now, this report is coming from some sort of insider who's in investments at the company. So this is a pretty solid take. Would you want Disney to sell Hulu, Mike? I would much rather them buy it all up and build one Disney Plus / Hulu app like they do in every other country but America. So you get all your stuff in one place. But it sounds like that's not going to be kind of the way they go.
I guess it really just depends, right? Because Hulu really at its core, if you're talking about just Hulu, the service, is going to be its users, right? And then the Hulu originals. Now, there are some Hulu originals that I think are really, really great that I enjoy, right? But I don't think the Hulu originals have ever really been the biggest draw of the Hulu. I would say it's that you kind of get the chance to watch stuff that would be on network TV kind of like the next day. You're talking like your Abbott Elementaries, or back in the day, I know a lot of people would watch Modern Family on Hulu, right? So there's nothing stopping Disney from theoretically, selling Hulu, and it's just like, okay, Abbott Elementary, which is an ABC show, instead of being on Hulu, right, next day, we're just going to put it on Disney Plus next day, right? Now, they would be selling away the Hulu original shows, so, Abbott Elementary, not Abbott Elementary, Handmaid's Tale, right? So whoever they sell it to would acquire Handmaid's Tale, right? But they're not going to get like all the FX shows, right, that are normally airing on Hulu. I would think, right? I guess it's just more of like you're kind of more of acquiring the users. So I'm saying like Disney could find a way around it, but I mean I've had a lot of value come out of Hulu, but it's almost entirely from being able to watch broadcast television shows because I don't want to set up an antenna and I don't have cable. So if they just move that to their proper streaming service, I'm not really missing out.
Well, I think it's also, I mean, again, every other country but America, it's one app. It's like Disney. It's Disney Plus Star, and that's what they call that everywhere else, right? Because they can include even age-restricted content over there. Even the stuff you mentioned, the TV stuff, right? There's been some good Hulu originals, like Prey was a pretty good one, right? Is that what's that other one? The Handmaid's Tale, is that Hulu original as well? Yeah. Mm-hmm. Like there are some good things, but like, to me, it's not enough for me to like subscribe fully to Hulu. But like, if there was like, hey, here's Disney Plus Hulu, you can get all your 20th century movies. You can get some day after TV streaming shows or bundles of shows, and your Disney Plus stuff. And I just love it. I'm like, this would be fantastic for me. Like just one home to do it all is really what we're hoping for at the end of the day, Mike. So we'll cross our fingers, see what comes up in the next couple, I guess, months, maybe years. It may even go sideways, and we may never. It may be the same thing forever. So we'll keep you posted. Let's shift into DC stuff a little bit here. The Brave and the Bold, which is the upcoming Batman movie. Ben Affleck is rumored to direct this movie.
That's actually smart. That's actually really smart. He's a great director, and maybe this could kind of appease that vocal Zack Snyder minority, right? Of like, oh, we want our Batfleck. It's like, well, you got him. He's directing the movie. He's not in it, but he is endorsing this new. Yeah, exactly. So that's smart, and I like Ben Affleck as a director. He makes good stuff.
Yeah, and it seems to be a different kind of Batman movie, right? Like, this isn't like your standard fare, if you will, like the Batman. This is, dealing with Batman / Bruce Wayne and Robin and his son Damien Wayne. So it's very much not the standard the Batman, right? Or the Batman 2 we're getting on the other side. So it could be very tonally different. It could be really good in that regard. Also, Ben Affleck, he was going to direct the Batman solo movie, right? Before all the Snyder stuff fell apart a long time ago. So I think he's kind of had an itch, or like maybe a desire to do that. Maybe as a parting gift, right, for him. They're like, hey, do you want to maybe direct this movie if the price is right for you? So
yeah, thanks for staying fit and doing all that CrossFit, not knowing if you're going to return as Batman. Here's your reward.
That's right. Yeah, you can do this, and we'll provide all the Dunkin' Donuts you want on set. You don't even worry about it. But yeah, to me, this is fine. Like, I don't care who directs the movie as long as it's good, right? Like, I don't. We've seen directors, again, in terms of like the Joker, Todd Phillips, he did the Hangover movies and then went and did the Joker. Like, directors can do good stuff, they can do bad stuff, they can do different genres, and Ben Affleck has proven himself to do quality work across the field. So absolutely cool with this, like you said. This is probably going to perk your ears up a little bit, Mike. Batman Beyond. Apparently, an animated movie is rumored to be in the works over at the DCUniverse or whatever it is, DC Studios, whatever they call it themselves these days.
Okay.
And the script of this movie was actually written in response to the popularity and success of Into the Spider-Verse, back before James Gunn was even there.
Okay, so my first initial thought, right, is like, okay, great. I love this idea of everybody kind of like chasing the creativity and originality of Spider-Verse. But then there's another part in my brain that goes like, is everything just going to look like Spider-Verse, just how everything looked like Pixar, for a while? But, I would imagine that they'll take the right kind of rules and lessons out of that.
Just to add this, I didn't put even in here. There are multiple drafts of the script, so that's great. They're still working on it, right? That's good to know that there's not just one script, there's multiples. James Gunn and Peter Safran have not canceled this project at the current moment. Now, mind you, they could call in 5 minutes and be like, yeah, we're not doing this. So that's also a good note. The other thing is, I would say Warner Brothers Animation does a really good job. Even maybe it doesn't look like Spider-Verse, but Warner Brothers, they do all the DC movies animated. They have a full great animation studio, so I would trust them, right, to do a good movie. Even if it didn't look like Spider-Verse, it would still be quality animation, top-notch. If you
but also there is a side of me, though, that really wants a live-action Batman Beyond, though. Like, I kind of want to see, like, the kinetic energy that we got to see kind of like Iron Man fight with in the MCU, but kind of attached to a DC kind of Batmanized character. I just think that would be really, really cool, because that's what I thought when we had all of those rumors before of like a possible live-action Terry McGinnis coming to the DC universe. Just, it would be so awesome to see, like, just the Batman aesthetics with like the super high technological suit. So I hope we can still maybe get that in the future. I just want my cake and eat it too. Give me both. Yeah. Give me like the coolest Batman Beyond animated movie I've ever seen, right? And then also maybe later down the line make it live action and just give me all the Batman Beyond.
Now, did Batman Beyond have a movie in and of itself?
Yeah,
as a TV show?
It was the Joker one where Mark Hamill returned. It's been a while since I've seen it, so I don't know exactly. I don't think there was time travel involved. Was the Joker just like cryogenically frozen or something like that? I don't remember, but it was like a cool looking Joker too. They like gave him like leather pants or something, if I remember right. I don't know.
I looked at it. So it's straight. It was a straight to video one, so that makes sense. Because I know Mask of the Phantasm went to theaters for a little bit. Now, an animated movie, 20 to 25 years after this show, I think a lot of people would be, hyped for this, right? When we went to San Diego Comic-Con in 2019, people were at that panel hyped for this. You put out animated live action, people are going to flock towards it. Now, I will say the one sucky part of this is with the death of Kevin Conroy, we don't get that Batman back in this, right? So when they make this movie, do they recast all the characters? Do they try to say, hey, look, we can't, we know Kevin Conroy's right here, we don't want to try to replace him with a sound-alike and everybody else is the same? Do we, go, I guess, a little higher on that notch? Like, I don't know, maybe they get their Batman in the DC universe to voice it, right? And then they have Terry, they can bring back Will Friedle back as Terry McGinnis, but
Chris, I'm sending you a joke that only works in a visual medium, but I think we'll describe it to the audience here in real time. So here's the first photo I sent you, right?
Okay.
I want you to ingest it and tell the audience what you're looking at.
Okay, I'm looking at a Joker. It appears to be in a very black, shiny outfit.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that is the Joker from the Batman Beyond movie.
Yep, looks just like the one from the animated series, just maybe whiter skin and black hair.
Yeah, he's more streamlined, futuristic, if you will.
Yeah,
right?
Yeah.
And then I'll send you what the kids would call same energy type of photos. And let me know what you're seeing here.
Oh yeah. I see Gru. I don't think it's. I think.
Look at those shoulders. Look at the pale skin and the sunken eyes and the pointy nose.
When you say same energy, entirely disagree. I'm actually. There's actual energy coming off the Joker one. The Gru one has nothing. Same posture, same design, yes. Evil. I would even say if you can find a picture of Dr. Evil from the first Austin Powers movie, probably looks pretty close to both of these. But
we'll put it to you, audience. Go look up Joker from Batman Beyond: Return of the Joker, and then immediately Google Gru from Despicable Me.
The problem is, I can, knowing Batman the Animated Series, I can hear Mark Hamill's voice in this character. Like I know his sound and his like demeanor more like, and compared to Gru, it's not. But like posture wise, design wise, yes, evil. People wear black.
They both have minions, right? They're both They're both technically villains. Come on.
No, I'm not giving it to you.
There's an N64 game for Batman Beyond the Joker Returns and PlayStation. Really? It was looks like it hit a couple different platforms. We are going down a rabbit hole right now, folks.
Oh no.
All right. Let's see here. Came out in 2000. Agree. No,
so it's the same cover as the movie. All right, that's easy.
Mm-hmm.
Let's see, what kind of game is it? Looks to be like a final Streets of Rage. If anyone's familiar with Streets of Rage, it is a beat 'em up version of it.
I'm looking at it right now, and it seems to be the cut scenes are just stills. They're just like they're just illustrations with like text underneath it. You just run around as Batman, and you just mash the environment up. Oh, that's fun. Yeah. Well, here's a new ROM for you to go hunt down, Chris, and put it in your arcade cabinet.
I've already got this.
Why am I even asking?
Yeah, I don't either. So I'm looking here. Okay, 64 and PlayStation 1 in 2000, but it also has a Game Boy version, a Game Boy Color version.
Oh, I can only assume that's the superior one.
Yeah. So that's probably the one that maybe had the static screens. I couldn't go back and play this, but. That would probably be a fun multiplayer game. I would love that. I know the Batman Beyond suit has a lot of advanced technology in it, so it'd be interesting to go down that road. But anyway, Batman Beyond, hopefully, maybe we'll get a live action movie, but the animated movie is possibly still in the works at this moment. Are you familiar with the Arrowverse, Mike, at all? Have you heard of this?
Yes, pretty familiar.
Perfect. Apparently, the Arrowverse is set to wrap up later this year, right? With the ending of The Flash.
Yeah, I think they just maybe last week was the last final day of filming for The Flash.
Yep. And one of the creators of this, Mark Guggenheim, he's been out talking about how he's upset. I don't mean this to sound facetious or like making fun. He's upset that James Gunn never reached out when they took the DCU job, because he's like, I don't want a job. I just want to talk to him like a meeting and say, hey, he wants recognition for his attempts to contribute to the grand tapestry that is DC, and these are quotes from him. The guy, the Arrowverse in 2015 was like the highlight of superhero TV, right? Like, I can't argue what Guggenheim and what's the other guy's name, Berlanti, did for it. I cannot fault them for that. But as the saying goes, you either die a hero or live long enough to see yourself become the villain. So, like, I don't say he's the villain, but, like, your shows have become repetitive and kind of burn out over time. Like, I can't. So,
yeah, right. It's like I have mixed feelings, too, like, without knowing the person personally, right? Like, if they're just, like, an egomaniacal Hollywood maniac, which are a dime a dozen, right? Yeah. I don't care, right? But let's theoretically put ourselves in the headspace where maybe this is just a really nice guy, producer, always put his head down, just trying to make good quality work. Sometimes it didn't work out and just never got the recognition from anybody. Like, I could feel a little bit bad for him, but you have to weave that story in your head to kind of find the sympathy.
Well, the other thing with him is he's like as the, I guess, the creator, the I guess making the foundation of this Arrowverse, he's like, it never got him another job. He's like, I can be, it was great, it did well, it made the, the what was that channel, CW, like actually relevant for a while. But he's like, it never got me another job. Like he's like, it never really. So it's like, was it even worth doing? Because like
what is going on here? Like, is he just like, was he just reached out to some sort of like reporter and just decided to complain? I guarantee his bank account is absolutely flush with cash. So it's really hard to hear the guy out.
Yeah. Well, I think if someone's taking over DC and like, hey, look, we're wrapping up the same time you're taking over, and he just wants to meet, like, yeah, that's fine. Have a meeting with him. Like, I don't think, whatever, listen to him, have his one meeting, send him on his way. But like, I am looking it up. I've never heard of Wizards. Is Carnival Row is what I guess is the big last thing he worked on. And is that just wrapping up? Is that my understanding? Is that
weirdly enough, we watched the first season of the show, and surprise, surprise, a second season just dropped recently. So
that's why I think that's why he's out talking to people. I think they're doing interviews for Carnival Row.
I'll put it this way: I feel like I'm prejudging this guy, even though I know nothing about him. He could be poor. I don't know. Yeah. I don't know. Well,
even if he's not poor, I think he deserves. For the era of DC that he did do, he did a good job. I think good going, Mark. We appreciate your service.
I think he'll have always reverence from the fan base for helping kind of put this world together, right? But I wouldn't necessarily say he's owed a conversation from a new boss that's actually technically not even his boss. Right? Yeah. Like James Gunn is he's in the same kind of like cultural, like nerdy, like, and company adjacent, right? But he has nothing to do with, I believe, the broadcast, superhero universe that is all but wrapping up right now. So,
well, I think he does. DCUniverse would, if they're making TV shows, he has the right. James Gunn and Peter Safran, not just Gunn, but like they could literally be like, yeah, we're not licensing any more of our characters, like for television. He could. I would think Flash needed to wrap up before that happened, but like, I think there is a little bit there, but like at the same time, like, let's just say what it is. We don't have to feel sorry for him, but like, good job, Mark. You did a good job on what you did. And
also, we could be getting all of this like out of context, right? He very well could have said these words in an interview, but maybe it was just like kind of offhand, right? Of just like, oh, well, has James Gunn talked to you at all? He's just like, no, haven't really heard from him. Not really sure what's going on there. It'd be nice to hear from him. Yeah. And then like, that was it.
Yeah. He did write. I will say I always want to close out. One of my favorite video games is actually X-Men Origins Wolverine. Because they made this game for Wolverine, and then they were like, hold on, we're actually making a movie. You need to tie the movie into it. So they have this full game already. So if you ever get to play that game, it's one of the best video games ever, based quote unquote on a movie, even though the game was done a year before the movie came out. Highly recommend. But he wrote the story for that, which was really good, because that movie is not good to watch and does not have a good story, but the game is fantastic. So cool. highly recommend that. Moving on, surprise, Detective Pikachu is getting a sequel. Mike, didn't see this.
Yes, finally.
Jeez. Did we talk about this recently? How they were like,
I don't remember if it was recently. Yeah. I mean, I remember when we talked about this when we reviewed the movie like a bajillion years ago, where I was like standing up like on a podium yelling at the world, going like, this is the next wave of movies. Pokemon's going to dominate the box office for like the next decade. And here we are. It feels like a decade later. We haven't even gotten the next movie.
Absolutely. And Pokemon hasn't died down. It's still a billion-dollar industry, right? Like, it will always be. And Mario Brothers is coming out, so I figured they would do something sooner or later. But we do have confirmation that they are, in fact, working on a sequel. That Chris Galletta, who is one of the co-creators of Portlandia and the co-creators of Baskets, you're familiar with that show, right? The Zach Galifianakis?
Yeah. Okay.
When I say that, people are like, what? I'm like, it's the one where, what's his name, dressed up as his mom? Oh my gosh. Louis Anderson dressed up as his mom. So and we'll write the script, and then they are currently in talks with Jonathan Crystal, the other co-creator of Portlandia, to direct this movie. So
I mean, that's cool. That's an awesome creative team.
Yeah, absolutely. And they haven't. I don't think they've done anything since Portlandia, but Portlandia was a funny show, right? Like that's it's a pretty good sketch comedy show. I wouldn't even know what to do with a second Detective Pikachu, right? Like the end of the first one ends where the Pikachu, Ryan Reynolds, who was in the Pikachu, gets put back into his human body, and you just have Ryan Reynolds and Pikachu. So do you bring back Ryan Reynolds and was it Justice
Smith? What?
Yeah.
Another thing,
or do you do something different? I don't know.
It's been a while since I've seen the movie, so I don't remember the exact nuances of what happens. But when Ryan Reynolds got trapped inside of the Pikachu, like, does the Pikachu itself lose all, like, control? Like, so when Ryan Reynolds kind of goes back to his body, like, what happens to the Pikachu that he was just inhabiting? Is that Pikachu just like, oh, that was a really weird long nap, or like there was a demon inside of me controlling me?
They control. They explain it, because Mewtwo puts his conscience in the Pikachu body, and he's like, the Pikachu was like, yes, please, I will help save this dude, like, kind of thing. Like, imagine a Homeward Bound kind of situation. Like, yeah, I'll carry his conscience or whatever.
Okay, so there was consent to share the same body from the Pikachu. I would think maybe if you wanted to kind of keep the same plot device running, like maybe they have to solve a crime, but they need to go undercover. So Ryan Reynolds, like, you know, the Pokemon world is full of like technology, right? That's very fantastical. So maybe they meet like a scientist, you know, maybe even it's a scientist that we've seen in the Pokemon universe before, and he's like, oh, I've developed a device, you know, to kind of help you like remotely go in there, and you don't have to be trapped permanently. So that's how they go do it.
That movie got weird, like people turning into Pokemon there at the end of it. Like
It's the same.
They got wild.
The Pokemon universe shares a very similar type of vibe that the Harry Potter universe does, where you can have a lot of fun with both worlds if you don't dig too deep below the surface, because otherwise things get very weird, things get very unexplainable, and if you do, like, you're just like, everything's falling apart, right? So you kind of have to be very careful when you make these movies, or you'll end up with a Fantastic Beast, and you're just like, yeah, why didn't the wizards stop World War I? Like, that would have been really nice of them.
Yeah. So, exactly. And it's Pokemon. Obviously, it's Pokemon, right? Like, you have to suspend your disbelief. There are these creatures walking around. So, I think maybe they have to get back to. I think Ryan Reynolds' Pikachu is like the highlight of that, right? Like, that was the part that really sold us his humor in that. So I do think they need to bring that back. But if they end up wanting to tell a different story, absolutely go for it. Like, what I think sticks with me is like how they brought the Pokemon to like the real world, right? Like how they translated these, little Game Boy creatures that used to be like 8 pixels wide into fully realized creatures in the shared world. And I don't think any other video game, maybe Sonic has maybe surpassed it, right? Like, or they're on level with video game, adaptations. Now, mind you, I'm not counting The Last of Us. This is an entirely different video game adaptation world. This is like fantasy more than like survival. So I would love to see a second one. I know there's been several game versions of Detective Pikachu, but like you're not really controlling, a talking Pikachu the whole time. But I'd love to see this and obviously bring the humor back, right? Like, one of my favorite scenes in this movie, Mike, and I don't know if you remember, is whenever the Mr. Mime is trying to, like, they're I guess interrogating the Mr. Mime.
Oh, yeah.
He's like talking, like he's like Pikachu's trying to, like, I guess Ryan Reynolds is trying to say what he's miming. Like, that's not it at all. He's like killing himself or something. It was very morbid. It was very funny. So, absolutely love that. Let's move on to Hellboy, the Crooked Man. I sent this to you earlier this week, Mike. They have cast a completely, I wouldn't pick this guy, like, unknown in my book, as Hellboy in this. Jack Casey, he was actually in Deadpool 2 in the prison breakout scene, Mike. I didn't know this at the time, but he was like one of the villains in the super, I guess, mutant prison that Deadpool had to fight to get out. That's fine. Whatever. He's in makeup, right? I think we discussed this. Like, you're not going to hire an expensive main actor. You're going to hide makeup the whole time. Again. Well,
also, I feel like this could also maybe be a bit of a budget, risk aversion thing, right? I'm sure he's a great actor, no shade thrown towards him, but every single superhero kind of comic book adaptation that we've seen out there in the world on the big screen has always had a name attached to it, right? And this could be maybe a unique way to go at it, right? Let's hire a guy that we don't have to shell out half the budget for. and then just make a really awesome movie around it, and then we'll make him the star, right? People will love him, and then we'll save even more money the next time around because he'll be a star and he'll market the second movie himself. We'll see how it goes. I'm no Hellboy expert, but we all know the last one didn't do well.
And I think the last one was pretty true to the comic books, but I think, like you mentioned, it's a costing, right? Like, you can't have another expensive Hellboy movie and then have it completely trash at the box office, right? Like, you need to even if it's mediocre, you still need to have some recoup, even if it has like a underground audience. But like, they announced some other cast too, and I never heard of these people. Like, they are literally going like as low to the ground as they can go on this casting to save it.
I think we might have brought this up the other week, but isn't Mike Mignola, he's like writing the screenplay, right?
Yeah, the creator, I guess the writer for Hellboy, he's doing that. And I didn't know this, but The Crooked Man is a comic series from Hellboy, obviously. The comics for that debuted in 2008 alongside the Golden Army movie. As like like part of the release of the movie, he's like, hey, here's some new comic book stories. So the story hasn't been around that long, so they're pulling it right from the one of the last movie franchises from it. So that's cool. It'll be fun. We'll cross that bridge when we get there, right? Like for Hellboy as always. All right, buckle up. Here's where the SEO comes into play for this podcast. Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles Mutant Mayhem. The trailer is tomorrow on Monday, so we're not going to have it to talk about now, but if you're listening to this on Monday, you can probably catch the trailer pretty shortly.
Well, I can give everybody a little bit of a hint because I saw this trending on Twitter the other day, and there was a bit of a teaser clip that was shown at some sort of like expo or something. I don't know what it was. I was watching a video within a video when I was seeing this clip. So I don't know if that's the video we're getting tomorrow or they were just teasing the trailer coming, but it did show like little glimpses, very close up of kind of like the turtles, like just of their like kind of like, I guess chest area, I guess I should say shell area, right? So you got to see a little bit of the animation, and just the little glimpses that I saw were like super awesome. I'm very excited. It feels kind of very like Puss in Boots, Last Wish, Spider-Verse, Mitchell's Machine, all that vibe. I got all of that just in those little clips. So I'm so stoked for tomorrow.
So and with that, there were some awards this weekend, and they announced the voice cast for this movie at that award show. So I will go ahead and tell you the Turtles, all of them are voiced by actual teenage voice actors.
Which is crazy, right? I'm no Turtles historian, right? But this is maybe the first time they've ever done this.
That is correct.
Yeah, and like I think like technically, right, on paper, they're teenagers. They could be like 13, 14, maybe 12. I'm not familiar with the kids. But I did see their pictures, right? But it's funny because in our heads, I think when adults picture teenagers, they're always picturing 20-year-olds that play teenagers in the movies and TV shows that they watch. So, like, we've never really seen a literal interpretation of the word teenager.
And I will say these are 18 and 19-year-olds, so I don't want to prep people like they're 12-year-olds. These are like 18, 19-year-olds. Like how you imagine the Ninja Turtles would be, right? Like they're on the cusp of adulthood, if you
will. They look pretty young, though. I mean, I don't know if those are just old headshots that I came across, but they look like they are like
they're Hollywood. They're Hollywood 19, right? Which is like
Hollywood 19, which means they can play 13.
Yeah, but I did double check them on IMDb because I'm like, I don't know who the hell any of these people are. So there's that. But we're gonna get into the ancillary cast. This is where the names really come to play for us. The other main character outside the Turtles is obviously Master Splinter, right? You have to have Master Splinter with your Turtles, and it will be voiced by Jackie Chan, the martial artist himself.
Oh, if you can define my childhood, you can do it very easily with TMNT and Jackie Chan movies. So that's a good start, Chris.
That's right. And this list is out of order, but I'm going to go ahead and pick the next two. Who are always the next two Turtle people that you always have to deal with? Bebop and Rocksteady.
Yeah.
Okay, so Seth Rogen, the guy who's in charge of this himself, will be voicing Bebop, obviously, and we saw his character with the toys last week. And John Cena will be Rocksteady.
Yeah.
Yes, absolutely. We're gonna keep going through this. Hannibal Buress as Genghis Frog.
Great.
Rose Byrne as Leatherhead. So they're going, I guess, with a female Leatherhead in this one for that. Ice Cube will be the character Superfly. If you will.
Sick.
Yep. I'm going to skip a couple of these. Ayo Edebiri will be April O'Neil. She, I believe, is going to be in the Captain America 4 movie as well. Giancarlo Esposito himself as Baxter Stockman, the guy who turns himself into a fly.
Yes.
Post Malone is Ray Fillet.
Ray Fillet. Yeah. I talked about this character not long ago on the podcast, I believe, where they're selling his vintage action figure again at Target. So I have Ray Fillet on my desk right now, and it's hilarious that Post Malone is going to be his voice.
That's right. Paul Rudd as Mando Gecko, and Maya Rudolph as Cynthia Utrom, who I don't know who that is. I'm going to have to Google this real fast. But yeah, this is a stacked voice cast, Mike, I think, as well.
And this is kind of one of the awesome things too, when you kind of look at an animated universe that we kind of saw maybe along the lines of Spider-Verse, right? Where I feel like when you kind of do these things in live action, you restrain yourself a little bit with like the cast and list of appearances, right? Because you have to go through all of this kind of like visual development, VFX, like all of this like hardcore live action animation to bring like these kind of like, monstery kind of hybrid characters to life, right? But like in animation, you're like, no, we're going to throw them all in there. Screw it. Let's do it. Because we just got to get the voice cast, and then we'll put our viz dev artists on like drawing them up. And we kind of already know what they're supposed to look like too, because it's from like an animated world. So yeah, I would say this is one of the bonuses of doing fully animated. And that's not me hating on the Michael Bay Turtle movies. I like those movies, and I will always fight for them.
But in the 90s ones are classic too, right? Even though they're like the little animatronics. They wouldn't hold up today, but they're still fun. I did look up Cynthia Utrom. Utroms are what Krang. He's a Krang species. So
do we have a Do we have a Shredder yet?
I didn't see a Shredder. I did not see a Shredder in this.
Ooh, maybe they're holding out. Maybe that's going to be either he's not going to be in the movie at all, right? And they like kind of like tease him at the end, and then that's how we get the like the voice cast reveal. Or maybe they're saving it kind of for the first trailer.
Yeah, I'm looking. I'm doing another quick just to see if I miscopied anything. Let's see here. Nope. I'm not seeing it in here. Nope. No one was.
All right, well, we'll build up to it. Leave some surprise. I'm okay with that.
Yep. Trailer tomorrow. Very excited to watch this. Revisit that a bit. It's it is the I guess the Turtle TMNT-a-thons, right? You can buy these toys everywhere. We talked about the crossovers last week or 2 weeks ago for like way too long. Get ready for your Turtles tomorrow, and we'll talk more about that. As you can tell from our thumbnail this week, we're very excited for the Haunted Mansion movie to come out. A good one. This is not your Eddie Murphy Haunted Mansion from 2003. This appears to be a really, really, I would say not craftily made movie, but like someone who really likes or really admires the Haunted Mansion ride at Disney World, right? And they've made this movie, and it looks spooky. It looks scary. It's got another great cast as well. And it Danny DeVito. I don't know the characters as well. I'm not as big of a fan as most people. I think the ride's fun, but I see Danny DeVito, Rosario Dawson, Lakeith Stanfield. I think he's one of the big standouts, right? Owen Wilson, Jamie Lee Curtis, and sadly Jared Leto. As
Hatbox Ghost. So if you don't like just full in the flesh Jared Leto, I believe he's probably just going to be providing like voice talents and maybe a little bit of motion capture. I don't know what he's up to.
You think he sent used condoms to all the cast?
Oh no, I forgot about that.
But anyway, this trailer. So the last time, we went to the Haunted Mansion when we went to Disney over Christmas, and before that, the Muppets did a Haunted Mansion special, right? With that, and this trailer seems pretty fun. I don't know much about it. It seems way more entertaining than the Eddie Murphy one, for sure.
Yeah, I mean, the Haunted Mansion, down to like its DNA, right, is you make a kind of like a spooky, scary movie that you can still get kids to the theater for. So they're going to be, towing like a line there for sure. And then you throw in the iconic characters, like the thumbnail for this episode has Hatbox Ghost in it, right?
Yep.
I couldn't quite catch the hitchhiking ghosts, but I thought that maybe there was one character. It was a woman whose face kind of dissolved. I was like, well, is that kind of hinting that maybe they're one of the hitchhiking ghosts? And then it's just like a cast of characters. That's what the ride is. So that's mainly what the movie's going to be for people that are seasoned with the ride. I want to sit down for like 2 hours and just see cameos.
Yeah, pretty much. Like, and like, there's like a bunch of ghosts dancing and like they're singing, and it's very like, all the ghosts are together. They're very eclectic on the ride. And I'm just kind of going through it. There's a chick in the crystal ball at the beginning of the ride.
Yeah. That's
is that Madame Leota? Is that who that is?
Yeah, I don't remember the name, but that's very iconic.
Yeah, there's that. I do know the ride at Disney. I think they said it was so advanced when they made it, they haven't had to update it in years because it still looks real. I think it looks fun. But yeah, so we'll know more about this. Kind of it's coming out in July. But I was pretty impressed with this, right? For a Disney movie.
Yeah, looks fun.
And yeah, I'm glad. I was worried it was going straight to Disney Plus. Like that would be like a kind of like a not a red flag, but like a little asterisk. Like, hey, maybe this isn't as good. But
are you referencing the other Disney trailer that came out last week that we're not talking about? That's going straight to Disney Plus. Peter and Wendy.
Well, no, I didn't watch it because I understand that movie is not for us at all.
Well, I think if we were to talk about it, which it sounds like we're vaguely talking about it right now,
vaguely.
The only thing I would bring up is like, who is choosing how to color grade and color correct movies nowadays? It just looks so muddy and lifeless and devoid of joy, which is the opposite of what Peter Pan should be.
And Peter Pan's like very colorful, right? Like he's wearing green and he's got a red feather in his hat.
And it makes sense that you maybe would see those colors, right, in like the London scenes, right? But once you go to Neverland, you should be taking that saturation slider all the way across your three monitor setup, right? You want that all the way maxed out, and they didn't even touch it.
I would say exactly. And I didn't look at it. There's obviously controversy that we're not going to discuss because I don't think it's for us to talk about. I know that movie was not made for you and me, Mike, and that's fine. But I agree. In terms of production, that is a mistake in terms of production. So absolutely need to really make that pop and make it look good. But
someone needs to sneak in and recalibrate their monitors.
Exactly. I think the Haunted Mansion is dark and spooky, but that fits the actual story for this, to bring it back to the topic. So check out that trailer in our show notes. The other trailer we have in our show notes is something I didn't know this was even in the works. It's a show called Agent Elvis, coming to Netflix, an animated adult series. And really, I watched it. I'm like, this is Archer. But they couldn't get Archer, so it's Elvis. So seems to be the same thing. Elvis is indestructible super spy who does everything, and then they have a monkey with him who cannot order strippers and cocaine, apparently, because he explicitly told him this time. I'm like, okay, this show is like really just pushing the Archer vibes as much as they can do without saying it's Archer, if you will.
Yeah, I only really had like two thoughts when it came to this show. I never hold out hope for anything animated on Netflix anymore, right? Since this is an animated show, this was definitely at least in development, 3 years ago. So if it doesn't do like really good numbers, no way it gets more episodes, because that's just how Netflix operates now. So I'm probably not going to watch it until I hear people talk about how good it is, which I know is counterintuitive to getting things to a second season. But that's not my responsibility, world. So I probably won't join in until like the second or third season.
I don't think we're the audience either. I'm not an Elvis person, so like for me, I was like,
I think that's the additional advantage, right? Since there was a since we're not Elvis people, there was a Presley that just recently passed, and I believe she was involved in the show. So I don't know exactly how the rights of all the music works, but there is Elvis music in the trailer. So if there's Elvis music in like every episode, that's like a musical cheat code, right? Like Elvis songs are not cheap. They're like, I would put them in, at least in my mind, of like Beatles classification of licensing. So if it's just like Elvis music from like front to back all season, like that might just be worth, quote unquote, the price of admission.
Yeah, so two things. I did know it's Priscilla Presley who was married to Elvis, who did not. She's not dead yet. She's still alive. It was their daughter, Lisa Marie, who died.
Oh, okay.
So Priscilla's. So knowing that it was Elvis's wife at one point has essentially given the blessing to use this Elvis in all the music is pretty cool. I think that's really adds to, like you mentioned, the authenticness of it, right? Like, it's not like, hey, we're gonna do like a MIDI version of an Elvis song so we don't get sued for doing it. It also kind of gave me Johnny Bravo vibes, like if Johnny Bravo grew up and
kind of
was like 21 plus.
The art direction, everything seems a little bit more 2D and angular, where Archer really kind of goes for that kind of cell-shaded three-dimensional vibe. But like I said before, I'm gonna wait until I hear things.
Well, we're missing the best part. Is number one is Don Cheadle is like his handler, like the Nick Fury of this world, if you will, and number two is Matthew McConaughey doing Elvis. Like, he is the voice
that
of
is
Elvis
pretty surprising. That is a very premium voice lead for Elvis, and I would imagine that probably was part of the deal, right? Where like, you're not gonna make a show about Elvis, my husband, right?
Yeah.
Without like an amazing voice that I can really get into.
And what's great is most of this trailer, he doesn't say anything. Like, I figure like there's going to be like maybe 3 lines an episode, right? And like, but we got Matthew McConaughey. So I think that's
they're paying by the word here. They have to be very creative.
And if you notice at the end, there are like 3 extra pages of voice actors, like, right? Like, you know, comedians and other people. I'm like, okay, they are trying to do this, but like, boy, this came out of left field, if you will, for me. So I might drop the first episode, or, you know, see what reactions are pretty early, like first couple weeks. But after March, it's probably gonna be off my radar for a while. For that, do you remember? Side note, when Reese's did the peanut butter and banana cups for Elvis, like
vaguely
15 years ago. Like, I don't like peanut butter, let alone with banana.
They should bring them back. This is the perfect excuse to bring them back.
It's peanut butter, banana, and marshmallow on Reese's cups. And I'm like, those are like perfect April, like Easter flavors too.
They have the mallow cups out right now. You just have to add the banana. You're almost there.
Yeah, exactly. So I totally see those coming back this year in that. All right, so we're at the hour mark, and at the hour mark, that means we get to talk Mandalorian for this. So if you've not seen Mandalorian Season 3, Episode 1, go watch it, come back. I will say it is one of the shortest episodes for The Mandalorian, but that's okay in my book. I don't need a 2-hour-long debut episode for something we're getting back into. But it was really cool to get back into it. So we're going to go ahead full spoilers. If you've not seen it, you know time codes, get out of here. We're gonna talk about
every single time I forget how infectious Grogu is when he pops up on the screen, and it's just a joy seeing that little quirky green glob just walking around grabbing things he ain't supposed to. It's the best part of the show.
Is it me, or is he making more sounds lately in this episode? Like, he's like, I would like baby sounds, like making vocal noises more than usual. Yeah,
he seems a little bit more goo goo gaga in the past, and I don't hate that. You know, he's just getting more comfortable with around his daddy.
He's growing. So apparently, Jon Favreau was like, he was with Luke for 2 years before he went back with Mando. Yeah, and everyone's
I didn't expect
what?
That.
Yeah, so
that was not clearly shown in the narrative, and I would say if that's important coming forward, they're gonna have to clear that up a little bit.
I don't think it's important, but I do think we're going to see a more I wouldn't say independent Grogu, but maybe one who has his force powers honed in a little bit more, right? Because every time he used him in the past, he'd pass out, right? So we've seen the trailer. I think he's gonna hit a big monster later. And he was what was he doing in this one?
He's grabbing candy. He's just grabbing candy. He's not even asking.
Yeah, so I think we're gonna see a little more of an independent Grogu in terms of like his powers and like as a backup and / sidekick. Really cool to see IG 11 back, especially for all the couple seconds that Taika Waititi returned to voice him. And I believe that's gonna be a longer term story, right?
I feel like we're on like a fetch quest almost. I feel like I'm within a video game, and this is like just kind of like the setup tutorial episode.
Well, it was fun to see the Babu Frick species, right? Like kind of work on them a little bit.
Oh yeah, that was great. The shot of Mando sitting like cross-leg style in the shop was hilarious. I was looking for like one of those websites that does screen caps. They didn't have them up like the day I watched it, right? But I'm sure they're out there now. Like I want to make that like my cover photo online. That shot was like so funny because he cares like so much. Like Mando will just like Mando is like the perfect personification of like the quote unquote straight man, right? Where like whenever you put him in like a wacky or an abnormal situation, it's just funny.
Well, and like he's like following their manners, right? He's like in there with them. He's not standing outside like Grief was like yelling at them. He's like in there with them. I thought it was fun to see creatures about the size of Grogu, and he's like trying to grab them and like take them.
It's like you can't pick him up.
Yeah, he's like bad baby. So I thought that was really fun. It's like coming back with the Mandalorian cast, right? It was very familiar, but at the same time, it was like, yeah, this is fun. These are familiar. I need something comforting, a comfort show, and this is my comfort show right here.
Yeah, I really have to reframe my brain, though, I feel like, when I'm watching The Mandalorian, because I know I'm watching, like, a premium streaming Star Wars show, right? But compared to Andor, which we just came off of not too long ago, like, Andor is, like, really hardcore into the narrative and the story and the interpersonal drama of all these overlapping story arcs, right? And I think that's probably, like, overall, like, my preferred version of television. It's not the only version of television I like, but it is my preferred version. So then trying to shift over to The Mandalorian, which it just feels very like Saturday morning episodic type of deal. So like I really have to like recalibrate my brain of just like, okay, when I watch The Mandalorian, I'm not going to get these big revelations or these like huge moments that change the person's like worldview, every episode, right? Like the episode just kind of ends with him just chatting with what's her face in a Mandalorian. Yeah, in like a castle. And like it wasn't even really like a cliffhanger. She was just kind of like, I won't get in your way, but like good luck. There's poison down there. So I just kind of have to reframe my brain. I'm not saying it's bad, it's just very different.
And to think this came from the what's his name? Jon Favreau. What's the other guy's name? Where's Filoni, who's used to using episodic cartoons, right? Like that's his world. Like, and I, what was really cool is like we pick up with all these characters. Like, I didn't feel out of place, right? Like, it didn't feel like we hadn't watched this show in almost 2 years ourselves. I was like, oh, this is really fun to, we get to see Bo-Katan, we get to see Mando and the ship and Grogu. And I think the next episode is going to again kick up some action, right? Like, I think you and I have talked about this. We've heard things about the second episode, and it's supposed to kick up some action. Really excited. I like that they're just going for it as well, right? Like, you mentioned a Fetch Quest, but at the same time, like, they kind of skipped over IG-11 thing. Like, okay, great, but now I'm also going to Mandalore. Like, I'm not messing around. Like, right? He's like, I'm going to go to Mandalore and figure this out. And I don't think we're going to have to wait long to see that planet with the way this ended at all.
Yeah, and I'm really curious what it's going to look like, what's going to be left over there. Now we have an explanation why nobody has been there, because there's this possibility that it's been poisoned, which just made me think of WALL-E because we rewatched it the other week. So I was like, oh, this is just WALL-E. They're looking for signs of life so they can go back, which I thought was pretty funny. I get it story-wise, but I'm just like, this blacksmith just needs to cut Mando a break. She's just like, he literally saved all of you from a gigantic meth gator, right? And like, you guys are just like, no, you're not back in the club. It's like, what's a guy got to do?
I forgot the intro because I was watching and my wife and I were like, is this like the Mandalorian's, like, is this his first time?
Yeah,
he
got his helmet, past or present,
and then it happens, and then I'm like, no, this is modern time. Like, I got it, and I'm like, I bet he comes in and saves the day, and then there he was with the ship. I was
like, you gotta pick a better place to have your picnics, man. Like, if there's a giant gator threat, like, just go like across the way. There's gotta be a smaller body of water less lethal.
Do it inside. Do it inside. Yeah, no, don't let them know you're there. The other thing I'm just going to say, which is a really fun Easter egg for Rebels and the upcoming Ahsoka show, is when early on in the episode they're flying through hyperspace, right? And you get to see hyperspace, and it looks like there's these whales out in the hyperspace, like these creatures. Those are Purrgil, which are actually from the Rebels show and the Ahsoka show, because those are what not Ahsoka, Ezra Bridger uses to take him and the Thrawn away into the Outer Rim, away from the planet. So it's really cool to see that for the first time in live action.
My mind went to the Solo movie when they're doing the Kessel Run. There's like some sort of galactic creature out there. I didn't assume it was the same one, but I was like, oh yeah, they have kind of established that there are just creatures that live in space. I mean, we do get to see it right in the original Star Wars trilogy, but the monster is technically living in an asteroid, so you could say that like it actually lives there, not in space. So that was pretty cool.
Yeah, and the Purrgil are the only creatures that we know of that can travel at hyperspace themselves. Like, they are going as fast as light, or hyperspace, however fast that is. So I thought that's a really cool thing that will probably come back, pay either later in the season or when the Ahsoka show comes around.
Yeah. And before we forget, I'm sure you can explain this to me 100%, Chris. The pirates that are in this episode.
Yes, never seen them before.
You've never really? Are you being sarcastic?
I'm being serious.
They look literally like they are characters ripped straight from like an episode arc of like the Clone Wars. But since I hadn't seen all of the Clone Wars like a completionist would, I was like, did I miss the episode where they were pirates? Because they look like they're almost like the same like costume style, and they were just kind of plucked out of the episode and into live action. They looked great. They looked awesome. I was like, I want more pirates. These guys look really cool.
I love the Man-Thing, Swamp-Thing looking dude. He looks like that in the cross between like a Brute from Halo series. Like, I was like, he's like a big mossy dude on a pirate, but like I've never even known like this was a real.
I'm so shocked. I was expecting to come to the podcast this week and be like, oh, Mike, did you see the pirates? Yeah, those were in episode 14 of season 4 of the Clone Wars. Yeah, that guy was chatting with Obi-Wan or whatever.
Yeah. Now I can tell you maybe his like little the other dudes on the planet were like familiar. They kind of maybe look like the Boba Fett dudes that he kills, I think. But like I don't know. I was like, I don't know any of these dudes, and I looked up and like they've not been in anything else before. So like you're not the first person to ask me this. They're like, oh, where's that guy from? I'm like, he's new for the show. So
look at that. We got brand new Star Wars characters. We had a new Marvel character at the top of the show.
Yeah. Yeah, so
it's almost like we're saying Hollywood can do new things if they want to.
Yeah, absolutely. And I was down for it. Like I don't think this dude is going to just be a one and done either. Like this mossy dude.
Yeah, they're gonna come back. They don't go to all that trouble of designing like a cool looking giant pirate ship and this green grassy captain, and they don't come back around.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, I looked it up again just to confirm. First appearance, Mandalorian, Chapter 17.
Well,
so,
all right.
Yeah, absolutely. I think that was cool. I honestly felt good to be back in the Mandalorian era. Short, 35 minute less episode. Really, really good. I do say the one thing I want to say is Ludwig Göransson provides the themes, but he is no longer the main composer for the episodes. He's moved on to do other stuff, and that's fine. I didn't notice, huge differences throughout the episode, right? The intro and outro themes all the same. So, I'm glad he set the pace, and whoever's picking up is doing a good job in the interim along the way. And we are back for how many episodes? I believe it's 8. So we got, I think it's 8 episodes. How many episodes of The Last of Us are left? That was what I was going to ask you. Is it after? Is it 2 after today?
I believe there's 9 episodes of The Last of Us total. I don't remember what episode airs tonight. Maybe it's 7 airs tonight, and there's 2 more after that. I'm not entirely sure.
1 second. So 7 is tonight. So yeah, 8 and 9. Okay. So 2 more after this. So I knew it was getting close. I was like, they're in snow territory, and snow territory is the back half of the game.
Yes, correct.
So that was cool. So yeah, I hadn't been following up on that, but yeah, so great. We're in a renaissance. Bad Batch is still going, by the way, and I'm caught up on it. Very, very fun. One of the voice actors is Yuri Lowenthal, who does the voice acting for Spider-Man in the games. And like the PS5 games, and as soon as he showed up, I'm like, I know who that is. I'm like, I can't not see Spider-Man around this character. But he played a really good character in that.
Yeah.
So for that. So, but yeah. Anyways, anything else, Mike? I think that's it, right? Mandalorian.
No.
Every week.
Yeah, good point, though. Last of Us is wrapping up soon. I'm sure we'll do a season wrap-up here in a couple weeks, so stay tuned for that. And then in 2 weeks, I think we'll be talking about Shazam, Fury of the Gods. And
my wife finally watched the first one. She hasn't seen it since it came out. She's like, yeah, it was funny. I'm like, well, you teach 5th graders, so... I think that's right.
Shots fired by Chris.
No, like that's like her humor, her audience. Like she's around that all the time. I'm like Shazam would be a great movie.
Not
for
shots, not shots fired at your wife. I'm saying shots fired at the Shazam movie.
Well, that's fine. I mean, have you rewatched it since it came out?
I have, yeah.
Okay, all right. When?
Oh, God.
Exactly. No, I'm kidding. I'm just messing with you. So yeah. 2 weeks. 2 weeks is Shazam, and then after that, I want to do Mario Brothers. I mean, I know. It's,
we gotta. I mean, that's our whole
super in the
right?
name, right? Yeah. I mean, I just picked up. I don't know. Maybe was it this week or last week? All 3 copies of Mario 1, 2, and 3 on NES cartridges, secondhand. I was loving it. So, yeah. So yeah, good point there. Anything else? We good?
Yeah, I think that's it, man.
All right, people know what you're up to, what you're doing. Where can they find you at?
Well, they can find me at Mike Royer Design on Instagram, Twitter, and TikTok, and you can read my webcomics at pickledcomics.com. Chris, people want to find you. Where are you?
You can find me on Twitter, Valdan, VALDAN, or Instagram, Valdan87, if people know more about the show. And get ready for these reviews. Listen to our older reviews. Where can they find those at?
As always, all you got to do is visit superheroslate.com. That is the headquarters for everything we do over here at Superhero Slate. And you can find our awesome show notes over there. Chris had some awesome links in the notes this week, so you can hit that up at superheroslate.com. You can find us on Apple Podcasts, YouTube, Spotify, wherever else you love to listen to fine podcasts. All the way over there. Like us on Facebook, follow us on Twitter and Instagram, and you can get merch at superheroslate.com/store. We love it when you reach out and tell us what you think about the show. Super fan of the show, Jeremy Penn, reached out, gave me his thoughts on Ant-Man and the Wasp: Quantumania, and then super fan Jim, of course, always in my DMs sharing funny gifs, and I always appreciate that. So what I'm saying is, feel free to slide into our DMs and do goofy things. We appreciate that. And if you want to be a super fan, that's really easy to do. All you have to do is share the show with a friend, share the show with a buddy, and we will be here every week, folks.
That's right. Or pay $15, and we'll give you that check mark. Super fan status.
Yes, there you go.
And we'll see you next week.
All right, bye, everybody.
Thanks for listening, and don't forget to subscribe.